Hi, everybody. My name is Kat King, and I am the author of a book called RiPpLe. And I just wanted to go ahead and introduce a little bit about the novel, a bit about myself. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So, I primarily write speculative fiction, science fiction, body horror, psychedelic horror, just any sort of crossover between sci-fi and other genres, especially horror and fantasy, of course. And I really specialize in speculative fiction, asking the question, what if, and then answering it, and then, you know, bearing out the story. And I was a really big fan of movies like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which, of course, is based on a very famous novel by Hunter S. Thompson. And I thought I might take, a dive into the world of surrealist literature and fiction, since as somebody who struggles with schizophrenia, especially treatment resistant schizophrenia, I just thought it might be really helpful for me to show people kind of what somebody with schizophrenia writes about, or like what my take as somebody with schizophrenia would be on surrealist literature. So yeah, so that's where RiPpLe came from. And I'll go ahead and just read you the first quote that I included in the book. I don't know what's going on. I only know that it's absurd. Charles Bukowski. And if that doesn't give you an idea as to, what I'm all about, I don't know what will. Minus the rampant alcoholism, although I have struggled with alcohol in the past. I wouldn't say that I was as deeply alcoholic as Bukowski, but I would say that I really enjoy his raw, gritty realism. And I strive for that in my science fiction, especially in the dialogue. I try to keep it grounded and natural, and it's only heightened when there's a reason for that heightened uh, language. I myself have a background in linguistics, education, and of course, in filmmaking. And I thought it'd be really fun to just start dabbling into these more, well, abstract types of fiction and not as literal. So RiPpLe is really meant to sort of be my homage to those in the past who venture down the road of surrealism in their fiction and their writing. And that's what brings us to RiPpLe. So what is RiPpLe about exactly? RiPpLe is about a woman with schizophrenia, a blind woman with schizophrenia who arrives at this abandoned resort in the middle of the California desert off the California Highway 15. And there's a famous, or more rather an infamous, old, I guess defunct. I don't even know if they actually use any of the buildings or the original buildings for the hot springs that are standing for the Soda Springs Resort. But there's a lot of lore surrounding this place called Zzyzx or Zzyzx. And the thing is, the thing about Zzyzx or Zzyzx is that nobody actually knows really how to pronounce it or say it, except that there's some lore about that dating back to the days of the original owners of the Soda Springs Resort. So there's a lot of lore around this place. What is it? It's off of this beaten path, off this little dirt road, and the road takes you. I've been out there actually. I stopped out there. There's a big giant salt lake bed that sits out there off the freeway, off of Zzyzx Road. And so we went out there a couple of years ago, my ex and I, and we took some pictures. And it's really windy and really cold out there when we went. I think we were there. I want to say we were there in September or October. It was really windy, so filming out there would be really challenging, but not impossible, I don't think. I've always wanted to create a like sort of an anthology series that's location based, set around this area, this particular locale. And I know that there is a scientific type of research center that does operate there, so I don't know if the public can really access the facilities. I'd have to do a little bit more digging and find out, but it's definitely been something that I've been really interested for a long time. Is just writing a really cool, trippy, surrealist, uh, location-based anthology series. And so I thought, well, let's go ahead and start with the novella. And I planned out and produced an outline for like an anthology series, a streaming series. But I thought, well, I can't get that off the ground quite as quickly as I can publish a book. So since I'm self-publishing on Amazon and Gumroad, I thought, well, this is easy. I can do this part. All I got to do is actually buckle down and get it down in writing and get the artwork and everything done, and you're good to go. Thanks to Gumroad, I have the book now on ebook format as well as well, right now the paperback is available on Amazon. I am trying to get away from Amazon. That's why I moved a lot of my products over to Gumroad and even to my Linktree. Actually, my Linktree has a shop where you can just grab an ebook copy of RiPpLe right now for like $5.99. And if you want to check out some of my other like sci-fi, especially my body horror stuff, I have like a bundle that I put together of three of my sci-fi horror, psychedelic horror slash psychological horror books that are a little bit more darker, more sinister in theme and premise as opposed to my really hopeful franchise of as novellas, which is Glass Stars, for example. So that's more transhumanist, philosophical, grounded, but very hopeful and aspirational. Whereas RiPpLe is more about the loss of identity and again not being able to tell what's real and what's not. So I really wanted to explore that really deeply about perception, sensory experiences, and the blurred lines between psychosis and the objective real world around us. And that's how we got RiPpLe. So I hope you will pick up a copy of it. Let me know what you think. And I am working on an audiobook for this right now. So I hope that you'll check that out as well when it drops on my Linktree, Gumroad, whatever you want to call it. It'll be available for you to pick up. And eventually, of course, I'll attach it with the novel. So if you buy the novel now and later on you decide, hey, I also want to hear your audiobook or your visual audiobook or whatever, just let me know and I'll comp it to you for free because I don't want to force people to pay for that if they've already paid for the book. It just doesn't seem fair to me. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I gave you a little bit of introduction about who I am, a filmmaker, a novelist, poet, creative writer, all around just a wordsmith and language person. And I am also a U.S. Army veteran, so who suffers from schizophrenia. And I write primarily about from that perspective, essentially. So most of my protagonists have some form of schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. I myself have vacillated between the two different diagnoses and so, yeah, for me, it's just a matter of really getting representation for people like me with schizophrenia. Because right now, I can't name a single sci-fi author who is known to have schizophrenia and is publishing work about schizophrenia or from the perspective of characters who have the illness, especially in the sci-fi genre. I just can't name any. And if you can, please let me know. I'd love to go check out their work and maybe collaborate or something. I don't know, find them, see if they're open to such an adventure. That would be great. But until then, I feel like I'm really the only person out here who's actually publishing from the schizophrenic perspective or mindset, at least mine. And of course, everybody with schizophrenia experiences it differently, but there's a lot of overlap. So I just would really be nice to like connect with somebody else who writes in this genre and has the illness. Until then, this is a great space for you to come learn more about schizophrenia. If you want to know more about my experience, you can just check out my myth busting schizophrenia series, my podcast here on YouTube. You could also take a look at the shorts that I've put up. They're just more briefer chunks of quick little myth busting, six lists of six things or that I want to myth bust about schizophrenia. And I also have some longer form content as well coming out, including one of my longer Ask Me Anything sessions where I didn't end up actually getting to answer live questions, but I ended up presenting this guide that I created for creators. So if you're a writer, an artist of any kind from any medium in any genre, and you want to write or create any art that centers schizophrenia or psychosis, I created a guide that I published on my Gumroad, and of course, I published it on YouTube. That where I just kind of go over my guide and I explain some of the tips and best practices and some of the research and scientific information about schizophrenia that you may not be aware of to shine a light on the illness, as well as how to portray it more accurately, more honestly, more authentically, without sensationalizing it and without exploiting it purely for personal profit, without at least trying to direct some support toward the community which you're representing on the screen or in music or in your art, especially visual art, especially movies, TV series, music videos, all of that. Of course, psychosis is really an umbrella term that can affect everybody in the world, but schizophrenia is something that affects about 1% of the population. That's over a million people. And so those are real human beings, myself, being one of them. And we deserve to have honest, truthful representation of our lived experience. And since I didn't see that, I decided that there's nobody else who was going to do it. So I guess I'd have to be the person because it's not fair. It's not right that people with schizophrenia are constantly targeted uh, for violence and also constantly being perceived as inherently violent, more dangerous than the general population, which just isn't factually or statistically true. And my myth busting schizophrenia podcast is all about that. It's just about knocking down those preconceived notions and stereotypes, and of course, a lot of misinformation, which is perpetuated by the media, especially movies and TV series. And I'm a producer and a filmmaker and a director and a writer. And I'm kind of like done with writing other people's characters and focusing on other people's truths and ignoring mine and still not seeing in the last 25 years. I'm 35 now and I've had it over half my life. I've still in that time not seen. In fact, I was waiting for there's a book, one of the most integral books that actually like woke me up and shook me awake to go really have somebody evaluate me was this book called The Center Cannot Hold, and it's by this Gold School law professor named Ellen Sachs. And I was reading her book when I was right around the time before I went into hospital, and that was just the catalyst. I was just like, okay. And then actually, at the time, I was still, considering myself a filmmaker and a screenwriter. I went to film school. I did projects. I even wrote a short film about being a being a teacher with schizophrenia who has a psychotic break in front of her students and then has to deal with the aftermath. And that project actually screened at Warner Brothers. And although I wasn't there for the screening itself because I of other things that were going on in my life, I had to choose between my career and my relationship at the time. And so I chose at the time my relationship, and that caused me to miss out on the screening of The Awakening at Warner Brothers. But the cast, the crew, all of my peers, I had a lot of people there who watched it and told me, hey, um, I just wanted you to know this. We really appreciated this message and what the story was saying. And you should know that you received a standing ovation. And I was like, oh, what? I didn't even know. So actually, that came from the lead actress who told me that. And I was just like, okay, that's great, wonderful, wow. I guess I should start putting it out on the festival circuit. But I didn't get a chance to because in the end, it turned out that I really didn't feel like it was quite strong enough. Although I did enter the film into uh, it was called Project Imagination, and it was hosted by Ron Howard and his daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard. And it was back in 2013, 2014, or around there, and they were hosting it, and I submitted, and I didn't win or place, but I received some really important feedback from Ron Howard personally. And they said that this was a great message and that I think that they really wanted me to continue to develop the story and, to do it again, like go ahead and go forward with a feature length. This was made a really good proof of concept. And then to take that idea and go ahead and develop it further into a full length feature or even maybe a limited series for Netflix. So yeah, I was like, okay, cool, thank you. And ever since then, that's kind of what I've been doing is trying to find different ways to express the lived experience of people like me with schizophrenia through film and through fiction, as well as creative nonfiction. If you're interested in sort of getting an idea like what my daily like play by play, moment to moment, wake up, sun up to sundown experience is like, I wrote a really detailed like day in the life, slice of life piece called The Madcap Lives Anyway. And that's on Vocal Media. It's also on my newsletter on LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you can check it out on Vocal Media. Just look me up, Cat King. I'm super easy to find me. And if you are really more interested in like actually getting into my fiction and stuff like that, or even any of my nonfiction, Vocal's a really good place to start with that, especially the short stories. If you're not really ready to like dive into a novel, but you want to see kind of some of my short fiction, Vocal's a great place to do that. If you want to connect with me, collaborate with me, follow the journey that I'm on as a creative polymath, and somebody who's out here creating and connecting and collaborating with fellow creative artists, LinkedIn is the perfect place to connect with me and to get in touch, and also to track my most latest news and updates about the work that I'm putting out there. I keep my website updated, but I only update it about monthly, whereas LinkedIn, I'm really active on there and I keep a lot of updates going pretty much almost in real time. So, and then I also do a lot of LinkedIn lives, and also I'm going to be doing more YouTube lives as well coming up. So, you want to subscribe at Cat here if you're not already subscribed, please do. I'd really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share. You know what to do. Smash that like button. It really helps the channel. I I think we all agree that we hate doing this, but this is how we share and this is how we connect with people. And we can't connect with you if you don't like, share, or subscribe to us or leave comments for us. And for me, it's all about really, I do want to actually connect with the people in the comment section. And I would love to even find more people to collaborate with. So if that's you, get in touch. You can reach me at glass.stars.project@gmail.com. You could also, if you want to direct any of your questions about Glass Stars or about that particular franchise, because that is my biggest project, my biggest IP. It's the most developed of all of my sci-fi properties. And it's like a multimedia project. It comes with like a live augmented reality show and audio, visual, album, everything. It's like a huge project. So if you're really interested in that, I have a newsletter on LinkedIn that specifically focuses heavily, mostly, predominantly, only solely on Glass Stars and its development, the history behind it, the cast members, the crew, everything. If you want to know about that, the latest updates will be posted on my LinkedIn newsletter called The Shard. That's SHARD. And if you are more interested in like the augmented reality, XR, schizophrenia treatment, the most cutting edge research and breakthroughs, I'm basically following all that. Of course, as you can imagine, with somebody with treatment resistant schizophrenia, I haven't been able to find a medication that worked for me. And so I'm leaning in more toward technology, but an ethical mindset is where I form the core of my writing on LinkedIn for my Mind Tech Insider newsletter. Sorry, it's Mind Tech Insider. And so, like I said, that's where if you really wanted to know how I'm creating an app and I'm creating so that these walkthrough augmented reality experiences that are designed to foster empathy, especially in communities that have virtually no one in them, or either of the other or the opposite, which is communities that are chock full of people who are mentally ill and homeless versus people who are in affluent communities who are still struggling. So just people from all walks of life. But my goal is to find and create an app that will help people with schizophrenia and psychosis, especially psychotic disorders, to ground themselves and to navigate the world around them and to sort of, it's like a real-time scanning app that kind of scans the surrounding environment and uh, sends out like status signals about the environment to help alleviate any stress that the person with schizophrenia might be feeling in that particular place and space and time. So it's called Perceptor or Percept AR. And that's a project that I'm working on now. So if you're really interested in AR and XR and mental health technology and the intersection between, ethics and all of that, that kind of technology and its development, then the MindTech Insider newsletter is a really great place to be for that. So definitely subscribe to that. And I can't think of anything else that I need to tell you about, except that there's a lot of books out here that I've published in the last couple of months, and I couldn't really have done that without ChatGPT, because at least not at the scale that I've been able to complete work because of the nature of my condition. It's very hard to get motivated. It's hard to complete things. I also have ADHD and complex PTSD, so I have a lot on my plate from a cognitive and from a motivational perspective. And so ChatGPT has just helped me like get started and develop things and outline things and get going and even draft chapters that I go in and I edit and I proofread and I add on to, or I then continue to manipulate myself. So it's not like copy paste and then publish right away. There's a whole process and workflow to everything that I do. And so this is just one example of a project that I'm starting to create videos about the process behind making it, behind the scenes and what it's about, and why bother like checking it out. So I hope that this gives you a really good like little snapshot of who I am, what I do, why I do it, what makes me unique, and different from other creators out there, especially in the mental health field, and then especially in science fiction. Because yeah, I call myself a sci-fi author because I am, and I do predominantly write in that genre, at least in all the different tertiary and auxiliary subgenres as well. So yeah. Okay, so that's enough for this particular episode. I will go ahead and publish this, and then I will be back with the some more details about another project that's coming up that I'm really trying to raise some money for. That's Glass Stars Live. It's totally unrelated to RiPpLe. But I just wanted to let you guys know that there's a lot more content coming out on my YouTube, so you definitely want to be subscribed to that. My YouTube is really because I'm a multi-hyphenate creative artist, because I work across a wide variety of artistic mediums and genres and all of that. My Cat King here is a really good place to just kind of see what Cat is doing right now, what she's up to, what is she tinkering with. Because I'm right now creating some teaser promos for RiPpLe, and I'd love for you to share those out with your friends and family, and send the link to pick up the novel and check it out, and then get back to me and let me know what you think. Um, but in the meantime, I still have other projects that I'm doing, so I'm going to make one video for each of my books, and then I will be, of course, recording audio books also for RiPpLe and for my all of my novels. So keep an eye out for them. And if you want to get involved, if you have production experience, especially podcasting, audiobook production, any of that, and you want to help, and you want to trade services or barter services, I'm a huge proponent of in-kind partnerships, which is what I'm talking about, which is like, service for service. Like I can do some editing for you if you I can do some graphic design for you, or I can do some ghost writing, I can do some editing, proofreading, technical writing, whatever you need. I'm a writer, so I can do all kinds of different writing, not just fiction. And so anything you do like that, then you would come in and then maybe do some audiobook production work for me. We'd work remotely from wherever you are over Zoom, and that would be kind of my approach to collaboration for at least for the remainder of 2025. And then we'll see what next year has in store for us, especially with the current political climate in the US. It's been really hectic and really mental and really bad for my mental health in particular. You can imagine that somebody who already has a disorder, with which paranoia is a huge feature. It's not good for my mental health, so I stay off of social media. I'm not really active on Instagram. I have an Instagram. It's SchizoKitty. It's SKIZOKITTY, SchizoKitty. You can feel free to follow that. I have all kinds of videos on there about, helping people with schizophrenia and things about schizophrenia, and some, comedic, a little bit light comedy there as well. But I'm not very active on there because I don't support Meta and I don't support Amazon, which is why I get, like I said earlier, I'm moving everything away from Amazon onto Gumroad and other platforms that are not owned by, as far as I know, owned by billionaires and people who don't align with my personal moral and ethical value system. And you should know about me that, yeah, I am a progressive. I believe in transhumanism, but I believe in ethical transhumanism. I believe in social democracies, and I believe in everybody having the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And yes, of course, I believe in DEI because it's not what people are thinking. It's not what many of people on the right are calling it out as or claiming it to be. Diversity means that we are literally just trying to make sure that we are balanced in our hiring practices, and that we're definitely trying to give people who from underserved and minority communities equal opportunities in the workplace and in education. It's the law. Equity means equal access. That's all it means, equal access. And then I also, of course, believe in, like I said, ethical transhumanism and technology that needs to be slow, gradual, but and ethical, and that we need to continue to have conversations about that as we continue to follow the. Well, I guess we're coming up on singularity very soon, and so we need to be wary of that because it's the current government is not for us. For not for people like me, for sure. I'm lesbian. I'm disabled. I'm a veteran of the military, but that's not going to shield me from the wrath of the government that is punishing people for speaking out against it, for just speaking their using their freedom of speech. So, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of me. Yeah, like I believe in equality. And wherever there is inequality, I believe that it needs to be addressed. And there needs to be an equal balance in our society. Not that everybody is the same, because nobody is really exactly the same, but that we all have equal protection under the law. Like, I believe in the Constitution. I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Foreign and domestic. And that means for me that it's not about loyalty to any one person, because when we were in basic training, loyalty was defined strictly as loyalty to the Constitution, not to any one person, including the commander in chief of the armed forces, the president of the United States, or even my unit commander. And so that's kind of like the perspective that I have on life. And you'll see that, especially in books like Moonset, where I really do target like Musk in my writing directly. So, I just want people to be aware that this is actually really happening. The dystopian fiction of the world that we grew up with, or Orwell and Heinlein and even Ridley Scott and Aliens. That's the kind of future we really are heading for, especially with Musk and Bezos leading the charge on with SpaceX and Blue Origin. And now Boeing getting into the whole Starliner game, and they're already talking about putting another Starliner back up into space, even though the first one failed miserably and caused their astronauts to be stranded and have to be, well, they suffered physically from the effects of being exposed to space as long as they were, because they weren't really meant to be there for that as long as they were, and they had to be rescued. And so, yeah, I I believe in equal protection under the law. So I don't support hypocrisies. I am very much an individualist, and I believe in like small loose associations and not big institutions. Even Star Trek, I'm a huge fan of Star Trek, but without getting too far into it, like I have a huge connection within and around the Star Trek community, both on the fan side and also on the production, like the behind the scenes side of things. And I've seen a lot of really terrible, awful, toxic behavior from fans, but also from people who work in the industry and even performing artists and actors within that franchise. I've seen a lot of deplorable behavior. And I grew up with Star Trek, and I was absolutely the only thing I ever talked about as a child was Voyager and Janeway. That was it. You couldn't talk to me about anything else. I wouldn't talk to you about anything else. Or I was running around, turning everything upside down, taking apart the vacuum cleaner and putting it together and fashioning myself a phaser. And my mom would just be like, so frustrated with me that I was just destroying everything in the house and turning the house upside down to make myself a bridge and to make myself these consoles, I actually took a printer paper and I drew all these, L cars. I drew the L cars buttons on paper, all the printer paper, and I taped it all over the house. I was really an imaginative child, and I lived in that state. And but having grown up, and then I became part of the community, and I started volunteering, and then working in the convention circuit, and made friends. But then found later on, especially in the last couple of years, that not everybody is you really is truly convicted in their beliefs, the same progressive ideals and beliefs that Gene Roddenberry had. So it's a shame, but I do believe that diversity is actually the only way that humanity is going to actually survive. So we need it. I don't know how you can have a human race without diversity. Um, I don't support eugenics. I don't support ethnic cleansing. I don't support, carpet bombing and collective punishment. And so, yeah, I completely condemn Netanyahu's government and Vladimir Putin, and I condemn Donald Trump's government and administration for, just being a total rogue in terms of they're not following the law. They're just doing whatever they want and then saying that they're the law. And that's just not how it works in a democracy or in a democratic republic. So I get off my soapbox there, but I just want to be really clear about who I am and what I believe in and why I believe that. I was in the military. Military experience informed a great amount of why I believe the way I do now. So I'm open to those conversations as long as they're respectful, courteous, and like I said, try to keep it kind. I get like it can be hard to be like nice when you're talking about really serious, highly emotionally charged and negative topics, but let's try to keep it, let's try to keep it respectful at least and kind, or at least courteous. All right. Let's not use should language for each other. Let's not do and don't each other. Let's not try to impose our views on each other. Let's really truly listen and then try to find solutions together. Because just venting, we've learned that science says that venting actually isn't good for us. It's not good. We need to start moving forward toward a solution, you know? All right. That's it for me on RiPpLe. Just to let you know again, like I said, quick reminder, RiPpLe is available now on Gumroad and Amazon. Check it out. Hope you'll enjoy it. And I am really excited to make this audiobook for you. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.